Just 2 weeks after Goldman Sachs downgraded its outlook for the U.S. housing market in a paper titled Getting Worse Before Getting Better, the investment bank reversed course on January 23rd. Okay. Now, in a paper titled 2023 Housing Outlook, Finding a Trough, whatever you call that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Instead of U.S. home prices falling 6.1% in 2023, which was their January 10th prediction, researchers at the investment bank now expect national home prices to end 2023 down just 2.6%. I could have told you that.
A little off there, Goldman.
This reminds me of last year when Zillow put that prediction out in January. It's like January, February, saying that the home prices were going to increase 22% by the summer of 22. I'm like, you're out of your flipping mind when that article first came out. I'm like, if rates were just starting to go up at that point, I'm like, they're stupid. They're not going to go 22%. And P.S., they didn't, because as we know, the rates hit 5-6% come the summer, and Zillow lost out. But here's the thing. These companies, it's like they're seizing the moment and they're not thinking about what could potentially happen. So in this case, the reason why Goldman Sachs is changing their tune is because they didn't expect all this home buyer demand.
I 1000% agree with you, because it's like when you take a pillow. Back in the day, we had feather pillows and they weren't all like special for our neck. And you had a pillow and you would, and all the feathers go out, right? Yeah. And like that was, fun to do when they were super old and that. I might be dating myself. Anyway.
You're not. You're fine.
You can't put all those feathers back in, right? There's never going to be a chance for all of those feathers to go back in. But statements like that, falling 6.1 on January 23rd of 2023, get all that crap back in there, because it's so incorrect. Like they just vomit out all this crap. And I mean, I don't want to say that they're not, reputable. They're Goldman Sachs. You don't even have to finish all of the other names. We all know who they are, but their retract isn't as big as their attract with their statement. You know what I mean? It's more fluff. And it's insane.
Yep. It is. It's just, well, let me pull up the article again, because then I want to talk about what you and I were just what our suspicions are. So it says here, by the time U.S. home prices bottom out this summer, Goldman Sachs says national home prices will be down around 6% from its June 2022 peak. Previously, Goldman Sachs researchers were expecting that peak to trough decline to come closer to 10%. We expect a peak to trough decline in national home prices of roughly 6%, and for prices to stop declining around mid-year. On a regional basis, we project larger declines across Pacific Coast and Southwest regions, which have seen the largest increases in inventory on average, and more modest declines across the Mid-Atlantic and Midwest, which has maintained greater affordability over the past couple of years. So I love how they mentioned the Pacific Coast. So
that would be us.
That would be you, Angel. And what's going on with the market out there in lovely California?
Well, I was saying to you off camera that it feels very pre-lockdown 2020, because in January, February of 2020, we were getting these multiple offers, not just one or two, 4, 5, 6. And we were getting counters that said wave inspection, wave appraisal, price point to be. I have gotten that in the last week, and it's every price point. And I've gotten that in the last week about 4 or 5 times already. So I went onto my Instagram, which is the same, it's Bakersfield Realtor. And I asked hey, is this just me? What's going on? I heard from Utah, I heard from Idaho, I heard from Alabama, I heard from Florida, and I heard another colleague in my community and San Diego that were all yep, same here. So the good news is people have been listening to you and I when we've said, get in the market. The bad news is we've got multiple offers and it's queuing up a lot like 2020.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a little bit of PTSD, to be honest, because 2020 was rough. Personally and professionally, it was we didn't know how to navigate that waters because it was all new, right?
Right.
But obviously now if it happens again, we know what we're doing on a professional level. It's just very Twilight Zone music, what's going on? It is not falling. It is not declining rapidly because we had an overinflated market. It's quite the opposite here.
Yep. We had the same thing here, as I told you. I had a new buyer I spoke with today, and of course, one of the towns he's interested in is one of the most competitive towns in my county. And yeah, I'm like, I said, be ready. You know, I'm like, I go, do you have 20% to put down? He's like, yeah. I said, good, because you're going to need at least that if this is the town you want. It's very challenging.
Right.
And I even told him, I said, I know what your price point is, but we got to look lower than that because you're going to have to come up in price. That's what's going to have to happen. You're going to have to overbid.
So when you say a nice town in your county, so that would be maybe like a really higher end part of your community, right? Okay, we had something similar. I was talking to a colleague that we got the offer declined on, and she had her clients, so we were going to be the buyers of her property to sell. And the property that they lost out to was in a very prestigious, shishi-lala, bougie, gated. All you have to do is say the name of the community and people, it's just like, oh, you could go there, you know, one of those.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And praise the Lord, go for it. I want you to live and love that place, right?
Yeah.
That they lost out at an $800,000 price point, $40,000 over ask. I'm like, and here we go.
I'm telling you, I could see it again. I can totally see that happening again. It is, it's just a repeat. At least right now, it's a repeat of what we've experienced in the past couple of years. But I'm also, you know, maybe I'm a little stupid, I don't know, but I'm optimistic because I feel like at some point the market is going to become stagnant and we're not going to see much of an increase. We're not going to see too much of this going on because I don't know. Even with the interest rates where they are, right? So say if they just hover around 6% and people are becoming more accepting of that, I still can't wrap my head around it. How are people going to be able to go with an interest rate at 6% to go like 50, 60 or more thousand over asking? I could still see the bidding wars, absolutely, but to go as high as where they were going in the last couple of years, that gives me a little hope. Can you imagine what that mortgage payment would be? It's like a year ago at 3%. That's why I feel like more people were able to do it. But now it's double that. They can't go that much higher. And quite honestly, a lot of people I'm working with are like, I'm not going it that much higher. You know, we'll go a little bit over. I'm not going crazy. And they're not waiving anything. You know, they're not waiving inspections and appraisals, but appraisals, I think, are still going to become an issue. I mean, homes are appraising, but I think buyers are afraid to do that now. Yeah. They're not as desperate.
I think you're right. I think I don't think it'll have as long of a life as it did in 2020 because in 2020, it just felt like, where's the end of this? There was no end in sight. You know, it was like, oh, look, they dropped again. Or, you know, you're like, oh, we bought it down to 1 3/4. What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I don't think it's got the longevity to stay at the 30-40 over ask at the same trajectory as it did in 2020 and 21.
Right.
I think the thing to keep in mind when statements like, you know, whoa, it's going to be a whatever percent decrease and then, oops, sorry, only 2. I think it just signals that people just need to do what's best for them. At the end of the day, turn off the news and the naysayers and the people that are telling you that you need to sit and be afraid and not do anything.
Right, exactly. Do you think that maybe that like they're putting all these headlines out there to keep, like, especially for like saying the market's crashing? Are they really doing this to scare people to not sell their homes, to keep everything the way it is?
Should I take these off and put my tinfoil hat on, or should I just leave these on?
I was gonna bring mine out, so.
You and I have chatted again, personally and professionally, about like some of the hedge funds that are buying up acreages, billion-dollar communities, to make them build-to-rent communities. Build to rent means they have no intention of ever getting that to Mr. and Mrs. first-time homebuyer. There's no need. There's no need. They're going to have a renter, right?
Exactly.
For decades, and that's what investors want. The thing that we need to keep in mind is that it's to kind of like when they say look left, look right, because they'll say, oh yeah, so high rates, can't buy, Happy New Year, it's crap. And then if you look to their planning agenda, they're buying up property, they're buying multi-million-dollar communities that they never intend to put out onto the open market, but they're buying. And then they get all that secured and they go, oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, it's only 2. Forgive us. And it's just kind of like, oh, I'm connecting dots here, and they're all kind of falling into the shape of a dollar sign.
Yeah.
Which, you know, like, I mean, I'll take off my tinfoil hat, but and I hate that thought. I hate that it's, you know, where I go to. I think
But-
the thing for somebody that's watching this needs to keep in mind is like, if they can do it, I can do it.
Right. But yeah, how can you not go there? You know, like you hate to think that way, but it's like, how can you not? You know, especially us as real estate agents, when we've been in the thick of this for now going on 3 years, you know, you start looking around, you're like, this isn't adding up. This isn't
Yeah.
right.
Oh,
You
it adds
know?
up. Follow
Right.
the money, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But like I said, the retraction isn't quite as bold as the initial statement.